Hey everyone, welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I am so grateful that you're here. And truly, if you are here at this stream, that means I did something right. And finally, some moving parts that were very wonky have finally come together. So, welcome to Catalyst Energies. This is the Catalyst Weekend Astrology Report. This is our usual Friday stream. I'm doing it a little later than usual, and I kind of like it. I like the idea of really wrapping up our week together with this stream where we look just exclusively at the astrology for the weekend, get an idea of the areas that will be impacted by mostly what the moon is doing, but if there's anything major that is expected over the weekend in terms of astrology and how we can look ahead towards even when we come back together on Monday for the Starseed ministry. So I really like to completely check out of this whole aspect of my life on my weekend. So it's good to be able to really wrap up and have some time to truly digest a lot of what we have worked towards during our week, whatever that means to us. So welcome back, everyone. If you're new to this channel, thank you for being here. So I've just spent many hours in the booth and recording the new moon astrology forecast. We did just have our new moon at 2:25 a.m. Eastern on the 1st, which is today. And there's links available for you guys. So for the Starseed Fellowship and monthly subscribers, the playlist for all of the signs forecasts are already up and available to you. The Aries forecast for this new moon for the sign of Aries is publicly available on all of the platforms, so you can check that out. And I did, spend a good amount of time talking about the Aries new moon itself and the Sabian symbolism and the general themes of it, even just in the first few minutes of the Aries video. If you're not an Aries, you can still listen to it because it really goes into a lot more detail about the essence of this new moon itself and the idea of subjective identity and the ego consciousness and the natural polarization that we see here based on an idealized image of what it means to be in alignment with cosmic rhythm and order and what it means to be in alignment with natural law. So the thing about alignment with natural law as a human is that it causes a polarization or a bifurcation, if you will, based on the human laws that we set up for ourselves. We're really the only living creatures that do this, that come up with our own set of rules based on our own awareness of these natural laws. And so as the individual consciousness is really coming into its own at this seed point, which truly is Aries and a new moon, all this new potential here to grow and develop and align ourselves with cosmic order, cosmic law. But we also have to simultaneously accept that there is going to be this polarization and a very stark difference within us, within a sense of who we are, between being in alignment with cosmic and divine law and what it means to be adhering to the human set of social principles. And with Chiron so close by that we're going to talk about, it's there's a lot of wounds of self coming to the surface. So I want to check in here with the stream and make sure everything is good to go. Now it looks like this is actually working as opposed to all the other takes that I have done so far to get to this point. So my friends, we're just going to look at the weekend. We're going to look at the weekend as the moon moves through the Aries territory, really allowing a subtle but sensitive connection to some of the larger themes that are going to unfold throughout the course of this whole month, as do many new moons, right? Because it moves through the entire sign in just a matter of a day or so, or 2 days. So we get the rippling of the internal experience of the energetic template that's already just been cast into place, right? The seed is about to have been planted, and it's in these moments, these first day or so after the new moon, where everything is still potential. It hasn't really started to unfold towards its direction and purpose quite yet. And so this is where where we're at right now. And like I said, Mercury, Chiron, they're on either side of this new moon, and the Sun and Chiron will be exactly conjunct by the end of today. So really strong highlighting of these wounds of self. So let's talk about Chiron for a minute and familiarize ourselves with how this can be used. I wouldn't say against us, but can really come to the surface to be seen and to be identified with as a way to finally let go, right? When the Sun and Chiron meet, it's like, shining the spotlight of our own self and our own expression through the lens of this old wound of self, or this old identity, right? Chiron is the wounded healer, incredibly gifted at utilizing the resources at his disposal by way of who Chiron naturally is. He's immortal. He has a sense of, he is part Titan, right? And so he's able to really assist people in a very masterful way through this. But when it came to healing himself and relieving himself of pain, the fact that he could not die is part of his curse in some ways. And so there is an aspect of ourselves that's very beneficial, and it gives us a lot of sense of identity and purpose that ultimately needs to be released in order for us to heal from our own wounds. So there's a lot of people who are starseeds and empaths and healers that are very familiar, and 90% of my starseed clients have their natal Chiron opposite their natal Pluto. So it's like soul level transformation that is wrapped up in this wounding of self and the wounded healer. Who am I without this utilizing this part of myself that I didn't choose to have, that I was born with, that I can really help others, but is actually a curse for me? It's very close to this new moon. So while there's idealism and a sense of what this feels like and how we can identify ourselves with it, there's immediately the bumping into the not happening fast enough, or a sense of frustration, or wanting to change the status quo immediately. And this is about, being in tune with cosmic order means you have to follow the unfoldment of the natural process. And just because an energetic template exists doesn't mean it has manifested in time and space yet. And that's going to be some of the biggest frustration. And it's going to come out in all kinds of ways for people with Aries involved like this. And it's going to reverberate out through the month and definitely through the weekend as the sun or the moon moves through Aries. So here's our flying V, right? Our idealistic form. And as I said many times in the new moon forecasts themselves, it's a gland in the brain of the migrating bird, any migrating animal really, that interacts with the electromagnetic field. That's how they navigate. Just like our pineal gland has is responsive to light and light waves, right? And so there is the same there's the same evolutionary crossover there, but for different types of wave patterns and functions. It's so interesting. And you'll notice that migratory patterns are changing for a lot of animals, and that's because the field of our electromagnetic field is changing as well. So you made it. I made it. We all made it. Yeah. I appreciate Alex K that you are here. So I'm just going to keep going. This is really such an extension of the hours of recording that I've just done that I'm just going to launch into the weekend, if that's okay with you guys. So we're going to bring up the chart, and we're going to take a look at, first of all, our new moon in Aries, as you see here, with Mercury involved. So there's a lot of crackling and popping and, a lot of static in terms of the means to receive and send our digital signals. Mercury is the realm of our consciousness, our nervous system, our mind. Also going to be meeting the sun in a cazimi very, very soon, right? I mean, it's only 2 degrees, not even 2 degrees away from the sun. So by the end of the weekend, let's see, moving into Monday the 4th, we are going to see a Mercury cazimi. And that is also when the planet, when it's in cazimi like that, it is known to have yeah, it's going to be tomorrow on Saturday. Mercury's going to meet Chiron. Mercury's going to meet the sun. It's going to be Mercury, and our mind is going to be very, very active and busy tomorrow. And we'll go into each of those details as we go through today's transits. But the first thing you're going to notice here is that Black Moon Lilith in Cancer is pretty much also in a direct square to this whole new moon. So as I talked about in the forecast, you'll find that there's something nagging that is way deep below the surface, even our own feels, that is attaching us or reminding us of our connection to our humanity and our human blueprint and the timeless space within that is a necessary component to creation. And there's a guardianship here because we are talking about Cancer, and we're talking about the nature of protection, and the armor of God in some ways feels like a very Cancerian aspect because it's the feelings within. It's our sense of emotional connection that we experience that power within ourselves through the experience of family or in a marriage, right? This is all these Cancerian in a parent, as a mother or fulfilling that role as a parent or a caregiver in some way, right? The Cancerian aspect is about, cohesion and protection and guardianship of the vulnerability of the trust and emotional bonds and loyalty of all of those types of situations, right? All of those, groups of people, whether it be a spiritual community, your family, the institution of your marriage. It's really about those aspects holding you and how you feel about it. So something is already here kind of nagging and pulling our attention towards it, but it's not very obvious. It will be. And that's for a different, that's in the forecast, but that's not a part of this weekend. So let's go through the transits of this weekend. Wow, let's see if I even brought my notes up. I don't know if I did. Okay. There we go. All right, the first thing that happened was the new moon at roughly 2:30 a.m. Eastern. And right from there, the moon comes into the conjunction with Chiron, hours later. So probably very early this morning, I'm gonna say here, there's the moon at 14:15. Yes, so if we go back a couple hours, very first thing this morning where I was at least, and it's important to understand what this degree really represents. It's an unexploded bomb, right, at a social protest. That's the Sabian symbol, and what it represents is this frustration, right? Of, like I said before, wanting to change the status quo, knowing that the energetic template is there, and wanting to act on it before it's time to act on it. So there is a sense of frustration. There is a sense of really rash and hasty things and actions and explosions, literally in some ways, being thwarted because it's not time, or because it's jumping the gun on a situation, or trying to force something that is not ready to be expressed. All of these things. There's a frustration when you feel that potential within you as a subjective I am. And when we're talking about Aries, we're talking about the warrior, the fighter, right? That's a fighting spirit. There is output and action. It's like action hero energy with the Ram and with Aries, especially coming into the Aries season. So, Lilith pulling back down really into the root system. Don't forget what stabilizes you. Where did you come from? A stabilized root system that already existed that allowed you as a new, unique, subjective identity to come into experience, right? Just like the family already exists and produced the opportunity for you to know yourself as a individual, unique being. This is really Aries. Again, action hero, output, fighting spirit, a sense of I am. So it's pulling us back here. And then you have the moon coming into conjunction with Chiron right after the new moon. So it immediately made an emotional connection here to the immature there we go, an immature evaluation of transforming what already exists, right? Just because we can feel that it has already energetically, or we can feel the potential within us. And so that's just kind of poking at some wounds here. And then it's really going to be when much later in the day when the moon actually comes into a sextile with Mars. And the moon is going to make sextiles with all of this Aquarius energy in mid to later Aries. So where are we here? Yeah, let's go forward a little bit further. So Mars is coming into 20 degrees of Aquarius. It's also coming into now the zone, an orb of a 3-degree orb, it looks like, or less, of Saturn. And they're going to come into a conjunction this week. Wow, that's going to be a big deal as well, that we'll cover during the dailies. And I did cover in the forecasts, but the moon is going to meet Mars in this sextile, and yeah, it looks like it'll be at the 20-degree mark of Aquarius and Aries, and like 20 to 21 degrees. And so what this is, I feel like that there is a sense here of disappointment in a lot of ways for certain people, or potential for being disappointed. And we really need to dig deep into some courage. And Mars is all about that, and is in a position Aquarius, showing exactly where we access this is the collective higher consciousness, and acting. Sometimes we just have to pull it together and face our challenges and our disappointments with courage. And in fact, it's going to be this fighting spirit that the moon in Aries represents for us that is going to activate this somehow. It's one thing to pull it together for the betterment of the collective. And it's important to understand where Mars is in your chart to get an idea of how this is going to impact you. But ultimately, there's a sense of a fighting spirit that we're going to feel that's going to give us and even amplify the courage to face something that may be very disappointing or disillusioning. And we've been prepared for this in some ways for a long time. And not that we should just always expect the other shoe to drop, but with Saturn involved as this brick wall that's coming, I assure you, we are going to want to feel into the fighting spirit. It's like a boxer entering the ring. It doesn't mean you have to be like broody and combative all the time, but it's this sense of like wanting to win and like really activating that fighting spirit within you. And it's going to be more emotional and in a way that will, like I said, amplify and even allow for a personal, activation of ourselves to do it in the face of the greater good, even when you're feeling disappointed and disillusioned. And boy, I mean, Saturn is disappointing. So that's the other thing too. So we can already start to build our momentum here. So when we get to that wall this week of Mars conjunct Saturn, we have felt into all of that potential creative fighter energy within us through this moon time in Aries. And in fact, that's actually going to be, what happens as soon as the moon comes into a sextile with Saturn, like almost directly after that. And so this is very late this evening. And it's the same basic idea here that the moon in later Aries is going to be in that sextile, if we can, again, emotionally or subconsciously or just within ourselves, tap into the fact that we have everything we need within us and that we are full, like we're experiencing a sense of inner fulfillment. Again, it will really give us some confidence, like if you're lacking confidence, or if Saturn is not your friend right now and you're feeling more of the brick wall as a discouraging and disillusioning experience as opposed to a disciplining and structural reinforcement, just know that structural reinforcement is in fact allowing you to really discipline yourself. And it's a force field. Saturn in Aquarius is this force field that no one is getting past. You don't get past the collective consciousness as a whole, right? We're all part of it. So if you want to exit it, you actually do exit it by way of leaving the mortal coil, if that makes sense. And so it is a force field. It is, in some ways, the boundary line in our knowing of who we are as a whole. And there's something very disciplining about that. And there's an incredible amount of aptitude that we can all each develop. And I think that Saturn, if we see it as a structural force in this moment, it will allow each of us to feel that we have everything that we need, because it's life and kind of like the reality of it all that has been training us this whole time. And then we can be like, oh, I am full. Like everything I need is already here. I think that that's actually going to be one of the things we, again, want to take into the weekend, into early next week, when Saturn and Mars meet each other, right? There is something to be said for this wall. And then the sun, right after that, comes into a conjunction with Chiron directly, actually right as that's happening. And so, again, here's the unexploded bomb. This is going to be, like I said, it's going to shine a light. There's definitely false flag stuff written all over this right now, but it also has the potential to shine a light on that failed attempt, basically, or that it is in fact false, and has a real potential to allow us to see, what happens when we, how we get caught in this feedback loop of self every time we fall back into those old habits, that same way of dealing with things, or never allowing ourselves to actually transcend ourselves. And this is about knowing and feeling and already having the template within us and wanting something to happen right in that moment. And it can have people, again, it's easy to siphon people's energy through their victimhood, or you waste your own energy in terms of savior. But Sun meeting Chiron like this by the end of tonight is certainly going to highlight what this is for each of us. Okay, so, and this was, again, part of the new moon unfolding that we are intending to, grow from, and to be in alignment with cosmic attunement, and to, we always get a chance to begin again. And this is where we are, but this also comes with some baggage here. So that's today. I still feel, the moon in Aries, we're all going to be kind of like and with Mercury popping and crackling, and a lot of charge, and a lot of emotional outputting, and the kettle boiling, so to speak. So that's something to consider throughout today. And then we come into tomorrow, which is the 2nd of April. So I also have to bring up my notes for that. And the moon's going to come into Taurus, thankfully. I mean, this is can't come soon enough as far as I'm concerned, right? Which is great. I like the moon in Taurus, right? Because it's my 4th house. And so I really get into the trifecta of material security, emotional security, and in my feels that are experiencing both of these things, right? The moon is at home in Cancer, but it's exalted in Taurus. So I am a happy camper personally as an Aquarius rising person when this configuration is happening. So in the meantime, we're still going to be finishing the moon transit through Aries. And one of the things that is coming up is that because Aries is going to cross, or the moon's going to cross the Andromeda galaxy. Now, our full moon on the 16th is going to be a huge starseed activation. The Sun will be in conjunction with Andromeda galaxy, and the moon will be in conjunction within about 3 degrees of Arcturus. And you can see here that the moon at 26 to 27 degrees of Aries is in conjunction now with the Andromeda galaxy. So just a few things about the Andromedan galaxy starseeds. These are people who are often on the front lines of social revolution, freedom, liberty, independence, primary focus for these individuals, right? So this is where time is a struggle for Andromedan starseeds. The idea of paying rent to live on the planet you were born on. Anything that keeps you from actualizing your subjective potential in every given moment is something that the Andromedan galaxy starseeds really just, push back against. They need to spread their wings and get out of, be free, right? Be free. And true freedom ultimately is being in harmony with the world around you, which is going to be a big part of this full moon on the 16th. So in the meantime, as the moon crosses this Andromeda point, there is this sensitivity to what it means to be free, what it means to be free to start over, what it means to be in balance, what it means to be free, and how that's going to impact how we feel when the moon comes back around to this opposite point. So we're getting an opportunity to tap into that. And if you know you have Andromedan galaxy starseed markings, then this is especially important, because you're going to have an opportunity to access that particular set of traits and that frequency, and knowing where it's at in your chart really helps, weave together a much more intricate and abstract narrative for yourself. So this is, look at Saturday morning, early or late Saturday, early Saturday morning, very early Saturday morning, and it's starting to come into all these relationships here with, Venus in Aquarius in particular. Mercury is going to meet Chiron, as we see here, in that 12 to 13 degree. Again, it's this unexploded bomb. And the moon then also in Aries comes into a square with Pluto. So pay attention to this too, because this is going to be an intuitive kind of ripple here into the sun square to Pluto on the 18th, okay? So this is something to be aware of how you're feeling at these times when you're like, oh, what is that all about? Because that's going to be an indication of what is going to then be output and expressed come the 18th, when the sun is in this position squaring Pluto in Capricorn. So first, the sun comes into, as you know, right away, well, not right away, but early morning on Saturday, the moon is in a sextile to Venus, right? 27 degrees of Aries. This is where the moon is conjunct Andromeda galaxy. This is Venus in Orion starseed markings in Aquarius right now. And so there's really no lost opportunity. And maybe there is a lost opportunity. And maybe that's part of what Pluto is involved with for us, is that Pluto is showing us the lost opportunities at a societal level based on what is being destroyed. And perhaps it's in that destruction that we see opportunities that we'll never really get back. But what we're going to feel in that moment, even though that is uncomfortable and challenging, it also shows us that maybe that was the challenge to test what we are, a new beginning, and to not be discouraged, right? There's a lot of potential discouragement and a lot also of a balanced energy to give us hope and to encourage us to be focused on the future and what we can be, and to not get pulled into a lot of the negative, and to have some courage, right? To have some courage to face your own failures or these lost opportunities and see them as opportunities to try something new or to reaffirm something, and not to lose faith in yourself. So that's the square to Pluto with the moon over the weekend. I mean, Andromedan starseeds, they have to spread their wings, and these individuals, they are free, right? They are free to be me, and that comes with a lot of I wouldn't necessarily say confidence. It's just the spark of life moves through them, and they are always in the flow of who they are. And to be held back in any way, especially even by the incredible power that is released from destruction, that doesn't even slow them down. So feeling into this is going to help us, I think, when the big show comes on the 18th and it's the sun that is in square, because that's a big ego battle with the sun squaring Pluto like that. So we have our moon pretty much at the same time in a sextile to Venus. That is reminding us about the feeling that is really at the center of being human. And for all of the benefits of technology and civilization and the internet and all of these Aquarian types of things, it's truly in the natural world that we really find our highest expression as a species and as a human collective. And Venus here is very exactly the planet that is going to be able to allow us to embody the delicacy of our own feeling, and how important it is to being human to access that realm. So and in a sense of being sensitive to everyone else in this social fabric as well. And so again, it will allow us to, it will give us some meaning and some value to this feeling of needing to be free. It won't be just about us, and we can see that there's an opportunity to be regained even in the face of destruction of what is, what has been. And it's painful. You're talking about Pluto. I mean, this is getting right down to the darkest feelings, and this is very difficult. And so just in general, so this connection with Venus and with Pluto on Saturday morning may be a little tender, but it also is going to be worth it. And again, like I said, it will influence this sense of it's not a lost opportunity. There's always the potential to begin again. Okay, so that is, let's see here, and that is just Saturday morning. And Mercury is going to meet Chiron. So the wounds that we've been talking about, and the frustration and the immature evaluation that is going to pull us back into the old stories over and over again, not only were they illuminated, but Mercury is going to give voice to it now, right? Is going to give expression, is going to allow us to observe it maybe objectively, and certainly be able to activate some, there's potentially it could be a lot of expression about these things, and like I said, giving it a voice, or at least being able to mentally conceive of the ways that our frustration may be pulling us into acting immaturely or acting on an unhealthy sense of self, which Chiron truly at its core is only unhealthy because it is how necessary it is to give up the identification with our victimhood to have value in the world. So again, this is going to be given some sort of voice or expression or observation in some way, or be communicated in some way to us collectively. The moon squared Pluto, and this is the music of the spheres. As I said before, when we're in attunement to cosmic order, yes, it is going to within ourselves is going to cause a distortion and a dissonance with the with the realm of the cohesion of the collective materium, if that makes sense, right? You read the tea leaves as a form of divination, but what it's doing is giving some sort of pattern to recognize for the clairvoyant. Well, Pluto is not only just unearthing everything, so there is very little to have to read through, that it's just very raw and accessible, and it feels really, it's destructive, it's devastating, it's Pluto, but the power that's coming from it is substantial, and it could throw us off individually and in our own sense of sensitivity off of that attunement to cosmic order. Just you have to face it and see where you are getting thrown off, see where the dissonance is within yourself, because it's going to be so much more challenging and so much more ego oriented on the 18th. So it's really important. And then what's really great is that the Mercury Cazimi happens also on Saturday. as you're going to see here really close, but it's after the moon comes into Taurus. Oh, that's going to be so good. It's actually really great degree. 3 degrees of Taurus is like a natural lawn of clover, right? And the steps leading up to it. It's just this beautiful, rich, fertile, natural unfolding and what it looks like. And it's very much, if you ever, been in a field of clover, like it's just so, it's lush and it's full and it's green and it's natural and it just covers everything, and is great ground cover, by the way, and you hardly ever have to mow it if you have a yard of clover, by the way. So that is where the moon is at the moment, really, that Mercury and the sun come together in Cazimi, and 14 degrees of Aries is the serpent that's coiled at the bottom, right between the man and the woman. And this is the internal experience of the bipolar, or the duality within us as a means of activating our own potential, right? It is the desire has been given a representation, or has been ritualized into this concept. And when these two come together in Cazimi, it's said that the planet that is in Cazimi with the sun, right, in conjunction with the sun, is influence. It's going to get way brighter. Wow, I feel like that this is going to be like Kundalini awakening type of energy for people, that the realization of one's true power internally from this perspective is going to become we're going to become very consciously aware of it also at this moment, as the moon in Taurus is just settling into natural resonance. Wow, this is really cool, what this weekend holds for us, and really throughout the rest of Saturday, even into Sunday, to be perfectly honest. The moon is not going to make any major transits. There aren't any major transits to be had. It's going to meet Uranus at the 14th degree of Taurus, which, by the way, is now a new degree for Uranus. And this is about emergence, but it's about the recognition of natural emergence. So the Sabian symbol is all of these little kids playing on the sand next to, where the water comes up to the shoreline, and all of these little crabs and crawdads and stuff that are like getting pushed up onto the shore, and so they're kind of like groping and holding on because the tide will pull some of them back out. And it's the emergence from the unconscious, but it's also the conscious position of staying very close to that place. There is something coming with this conjunction that is going to be very like, it's going to be a very rapid, I think, emotional realization, if that makes sense. There may be some agitation in the emotions when the moon meets Taurus, because the moon is exalted in Taurus, and so she wants to like just settle into the soil, right? The waters of our soul can also be held by the world around us, the actual soil, and we will drain through it, right? We will percolate through it, but it's not the same as other positions. So the moon is still very powerful here. So meeting Uranus, that is like, here, I'm going to keep shifting everything around, can be irritating emotionally, and we can be feeling irritated emotionally about this. But what it's doing is allowing for our own emotional comfortability to find the space in between, right, where we are not losing touch with the natural energy, but we're also allowing ourselves to kind of, I don't want to say wake up, but some people will be like this, but it'll also be more of a enhancement of our own internalized connection to collective consciousness, if that makes sense. It'll be very personalized for us, and a sense of comfort here as well, in that it's okay with what is, shifting and changing, because there's an acceptance that there is something very, again, natural emerging. And even if there is it's the consciousness that's emerging. It's the higher consciousness that is emerging. And yeah, it'll be through the trickster element of Uranus as usual. And so So always keep that in mind when you are dealing with Uranus. But again, and with the moon in Taurus, it's going to be a little irritated when things are not like just, that you can just chill out. But also recognize that it is part of the process of a higher consciousness coming out and emerging. And maybe there needs to be some shake up here a little bit to kind of like pull you out of your stupor. And some people it will be like that. Other people it'll be less impactful. So that really actually does it for the weekend. Now, when we come into Monday, we'll have our Starseed ministry, and the moon there'll be a lot of squares, as you can see, to all the Aquarius energy of Mars and Saturn. They're getting closer and closer to their conjunction as of Sunday night into Monday. And in fact, it is Monday. By the end of Monday, now that I'm looking at my notes, it will be by the end of Monday that Mars and Saturn come into conjunction. This is like I said, it's the brick wall and it's the force field. And the moon is going to meet the North Node on this day as well. So there will also be a meeting with our destiny, right, at a soul level that we will feel into, while the part of us that really wants to act and fight and be the action hero is going to meet the brick wall. And we're going to have to train, and we're going to have to see it as a really strong training protocol in some ways, right? We're like at boot camp and being like, oh, okay, well, this wall here is meant for me to go over, or meant for me to go through, or whatever. But it's really it's training us each to be warriors for the light, basically, and specifically warriors for, humanity, right? For the highest version of humanity. So we need, it's going to be very disappointing for a lot of people, but it also is an incredible amount of discipline and structural support. And I think this weekend, if we're out ahead of it with this moon in a sextile to both of these places, I think we'll be okay. It'll activate within our own feelings a sense of ambition and courage, and wanting to really put ourselves out there and having a meaning behind it. So I'm going to check in with the stream here and make sure that it's all good. Yeah, I think that'll do it for today, guys. I mean, strangely enough, this is probably one of the shorter live streams that I've done, but I've covered so much of this material already in the forecast. So I encourage you to watch the one for Aries. And if you haven't checked out the ones for the Starseed Fellowship and you are already part of that, I encourage you to do so at your leisure. So my friends, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. Let me know what you think about going later to this time for the Friday stream. I'm curious to see what people have to say about it. So let me know in the comments, or let us know on Telegram. You can link to that in the description box below, of course. And there's information at the end of this video to access the website, catalystenergies.net, of course, in order to find the services that I offer. If you're interested in a personal reading, if you're interested in energy work to support your process, and the link to Subscribestar is in the description box below, and you can join us for the Starseed Fellowship. So, unless there's anything else, my friends, I'm going to go for today. Thank you so much for being here. I truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great weekend, and we'll be together for the Starseed Ministry on Monday morning. Take care, everyone. Bye.